All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us the truth, and much respect to the Yakim out there laboring in his work, and also to the believers cut across the four corners of the earth, the hopeful elect to USA. Shalom. So yeah, I just want to go into a lesson dealing with the fear of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, who is known as the King of Terrors. And that is going to be on full display during the time of Jacob's trouble, in which the Lord's going to let Esau pretty much have his way with Jake. And that's going to be the fury of the Lord, man, in that day. And that's a time in which we, the hopeful elect, pray to be preserved from, because there's going to be some terrible acts of horrendous judgments going out during that time. All right. With the new technology that Esau has been given, he has been perfected, with his methods of torture, his sword period. And that's strictly made for Jake, man, So I want to go into a quick lesson dealing with this article that I came across about the Assyrians and how brutal they were. I'm pretty sure you didn't read the title by now. But when you go to the book of Isaiah, the 10th chapter, in the 5th verse, it speaks about the Assyrian, in which the northern kingdom was taken into captivity by the Assyrians after they split. All right. And the Assyrians put holy hell on the northern tribe, man, with gruesome and horrendous deaths. And those things are coming back. So the Lord compares that Assyrian to Esau today. So Isaiah 10:5, O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. All right. I will send him against an hypocritical nation, that being Jake, the 2/3. And against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. All right. So this wrath that we coming into is going to be even worse than what happened during the time of, the northern tribe going into captivity. Also, the southern tribe going into captivity as well. This is going to top all of that. So the Lord's anger is going to be on a whole nother level. So let's get into it. The Assyrians, the appalling lords of torture. It says impalement, flame, and amputations were the trademark of the Assyrians. And again, we can substitute this Assyrian for Esau today, who has been perfected. The Assyrians created an enormous empire, and they mastered the art of war. Unfortunately for their enemies, the Assyrians mastered also torture techniques, and they bragged about it. The Assyrians depicted the torture in great detail on the walls of the imperial palaces. They created tablets containing every single punishment the Assyrian army carried out. And the Lord put a spirit on them to do that, to show us in these times, the terror of the Lord, man. It says they cut out the limbs, they gouged out the eyes, and then left those poor victims to roam around. Those poor people serve as a living reminder of the Assyrians' cruelty. You see, a living reminder of the Assyrians' cruelty. All right, the Assyrians intentionally advertised their brutality as part of this psychological warfare. The cruelty, we're not going to read that part. We'll scroll down and get into it. The impalement, all right, slow and extremely painful death. You can see the depiction. All right, this slow impalement of pretty much Jake, man. Going through hell by the Assyrians. So it says the Assyrians were proud of the mass executions. They loved to impale their victims on large stakes. Such sights instilled terror and fear into the rest of the population. For the Assyrian kings, it was a showcase of their power. And you don't think that Esau wants to make an example out of Jake during this time, man? It says the stake was driven into the body under the ribs and not through the anus, as it was customary in the medieval ages. The victim's weight caused the spike to protrude deeper and deeper into the body. The slow death was terrifying. 2,000 years later, Vlad Tepes, aka Count Dracula, will learn from the Assyrians, and you can substitute him for Esau, okay? And which Esau has learned from the Assyrians as well. So it says, Count Dracula will learn from the Assyrians and impale thousands of Ottomans, all right, of Ottomans. Although the impalement was the Assyrian preference, they also invented crucifixion. See that? They invented the crucifixion that Esau uses, just to increase their cruelty a bit more. Moving on, filleting. The victim's skin was hung on the city wall. You see the depiction. It said the Assyrian kings were fond of flaying the rebel leaders. The flaying process would start at the buttocks, the thighs, or lower legs. They would cut the skin in strips and pull it off the living victim. The victim's skin was hung in a visible place as a reminder for the rest of the citizens. It says, this is a quote from the Assyrian king. I let the leaders of the conquered cities be flayed and clad the city walls with their skin, man. All right. It says right here, grinding of bones to erase the memory of ancestors. Cruel. We'll scroll down. For the sake of time, we'll go to the beheading. All right. They got a depiction right here. Soldiers decapitated the defeated enemies and built pyramids out of their heads. Built pyramids out of their heads, man. The Assyrians also decorated trees with the heads of their enemies. And you kind of see that on that movie, I believe it's on 300, if I'm not mistaken, where you had the heads hung up in trees, like ornaments. So it says one of these, I think it was called the Immortals or something like that, all right? Yeah. So it says one of the Assyrian accounts even boasts of the necklace made of several heads, amputations of limbs, blinding, castrating, and burning people alive. The Assyrians were very creative about their brutality. All right, and Esau today, man, with his technology, has taken it to a whole nother level, you know. So it says the Assyrians were very creative about their brutality. They would have cut off the legs, the arms, the noses, the tongues, the ears, and testicles. They would gouge out the eyes of their prisoners. They would burn small children alive. You see that? They would burn the small children alive. And you got to remember, these were Jakes, man. You know, they did this to Jake back in the day. The Assyrian army was a professional army as it was well organized, so their cruelty and brutality were systematic. The Assyrian kings used brutality as a weapon. The psychological warfare worked. The news of extreme terror spread fast. The entire city surrendered at the mere sight of the approaching Assyrian army. The Assyrian kings bragged about their cruelty. They regarded it as their divine right. Here's another quote. I entered that city, its inhabitants slaughtered. It said, its inhabitants I slaughtered like lambs. Okay, from the Assyrian king. Ashur Banapal. Okay. So I guess we'll finish this off. It says, eventually the extreme cruelty backfired. All right, the Assyrian Empire, weakened by the constant war. And we should know what happened to the Assyrian Empire. It was taken over by the Babylonians. All right. So the conclusion says the brutality of the Assyrians was extreme, even for the ancient standards of cruelty. The Assyrians knew the brutality was a very effective tool of psychological warfare. The opponents thought twice before they started a war with them. All right. And this is the fear that Esau wants to instill within earth, and he wants to make Jake an example. And that's why when you get in Revelation 12 and 12, you know, Esau got some toys laid up, man, ready to try out, man, on Jake. So Revelation 12 and 12, it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them, speaking about the hopeful elect. But woe or destruction to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knew that he had but a short time, man. All right. And this is why, fearing the Lord is, the utmost importance right now, and being obedient, because the Lord's going to give this man the green light, to come for Jake, man. All right. So Psalm 140 verse 1, to the chief musician, a psalm of David, deliver me, O Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, from the evil man, that being Esau, the modern day Assyrian. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. They plotting these things out, man. Continually are they gathered together for war. You see? They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips, and they set the stage due to their slander and their laws and legislations. So keep me, O Lord Yahweh Bashem, from the hands of the wicked, and preserve me from the violent man who have purpose to overthrow my goings. The proud have hid a snare for me, and of course, they have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me, Salah. Okay? So the trap is laid, and Jake, the 2/3 are going to get caught up in it. You got people out here playing with the name, such as IUIC. All right, people mocking in Jacob's trouble, saying it is gay, saying all these blasphemous things. And they're not going to have it covered when Esau comes down with that wrath, man. So the fear of Yahweh Bashem Shai is the utmost importance, all right, for the hopeful elect, the ones that do fear the Lord, man. All right. So let's get this. Psalm 125 verse 2. As the mountains or the governments are round about Jerusalem, speaking about the elect, so the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai is round about his people, from henceforth even forever. The ones that do believe in his report. For the rod of the wicked, you see, the Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, the staff in that hand is my indignation. So the rod of the wicked shall not rest upon the lot of the righteous, lest the righteous put forth their hands unto iniquity. Yeah, going back into the world, man. All right. Not being obedient. That's why we always got to pray for mercy, and that the Lord leads us out of temptation and delivers us from evil, man. So do good, O Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai, to those that be good, and to them that are upright in their hearts or their minds. As such as turn aside, or it says, as for such as turn aside unto their crooked ways, and the Lord shall lead them forth with the workers of iniquity, but peace shall be upon Israel. All right, and you got a lot of Israelites who are walking or being led in that crooked direction. Not preaching in the name of Yahweh Bashem Shai, not teaching about the mark, the charagma, denying our Lord Yahweh Shai, and many other blasphemies as well. And they're going to be led right into Esau, who is going to be given a charge, all right, to tread them down like a mire of the streets. So yeah, I just want to go to that real quick. Lord willing, you're edified. Until next time, I say, Shalom.